The night Leo first saw her, he thought he had lost his mind. He was sitting by the lake, painting under the moonlight. The wind carried the scent of burning embers, though there was no fire in sight. He glanced up, and there she was, floating above the water, her body glowing like molten gold, her fiery wings spreading behind her like ribbons of flame. His breath hitched. She wasn't human, but she wasn't terrifying either. She was mesmerizing. She turned her head, her ember-like eyes locking onto his. "You can see me." Her voice crackled like firewood, disbelief laced in every word. I think so," he stammered. She hovered closer, wary yet intrigued. No human had ever seen her before. Fire fairies were meant to remain hidden, unseen by mortals. Yet here he was, gazing at her with wonder, his hand gripping the paintbrush as though trying to capture her very essence. "What's your name?" he asked. "Sienna," she murmured. "And you?" "Leo." The moment his name left his lips, she felt something shift. A spark ignited, not the kind she wielded, but something deeper. Something dangerous. She should have vanished. She should have never returned. But she did, and that was her first mistake. Sienna began visiting Leo in secret. Each night, she would watch him paint under the moonlight, his hands bringing her to life on canvas. He was unlike any human she had ever observed, passionate, curious, and utterly fearless. "You paint me," she said one evening, tracing the strokes of fire he had painted for her wings. "But do you fear me?" He chuckled, shaking his head. "How could I fear something so beautiful?" Her heart flared. No one had ever called her beautiful before. To her own kind, she was simply another flame in the wind. To humans, she was a danger. But to Leo, she was art. She began to love him. One night, against her better judgment, she reached out to touch his hand. The second her fingers brushed his skin, he cried out in pain. His flesh blistered instantly, smoke curling from where she had touched him. Sienna recoiled in horror. I didn't mean to." Leo gritted his teeth, clutching his burned hand. But when he looked up at her, there was no anger in his eyes. Only determination. "I don't care," he said. "You're worth it." His words seared deeper than any flame. But deep down, she knew this love would destroy them both. And yet, she couldn't stay away. Leo's burns grew worse with every touch. Yet he never stopped reaching for her. She tried to resist. She tried to keep her distance. But love is stubborn. Love is cruel. One night, when the pull became too strong, she gave in. She leaned in and kissed him. The moment their lips met, fire roared between them. Leo's body jerked, his skin searing, his breath stolen by pain. But he didn't pull away. Sienna was the one who broke the kiss, her eyes wide with terror as she watched his skin darken, as his heartbeat faltered. "No," she whispered, "I can't do this to you." But Leo only smiled, his voice weak. "I'd burn 1,000 times over, if it meant loving you." Tears welled in her ember eyes. "That's not love, Leo. That's destruction." He reached for her again, but this time, she stepped back. She turned, her wings igniting, and vanished into the night. Leo never saw her again. But he still painted her. Night after night, she appeared in his dreams, glowing, beautiful, untouchable. Every morning, he would wake up and paint her, as if capturing her image would bring her back. His burns never fully healed. Some nights, he swore he could still feel the heat of her kiss. "Come back," he would whisper to the darkness. "I don't care if it kills me." And maybe that was the cruelest part, because she still loved him. And she still heard him. But she never answered, because she knew that true love wasn't about holding on. It was about knowing when to let go. Years passed. Leo's paintings of her became legendary, filling galleries, admired by the world. But no one knew the truth. No one knew the pain behind the art. One evening, as he sat before his easel, exhausted and old, the scent of burning embers filled the air once more. He turned his head, and there she was. Sienna, unchanged, still glowing, still untouchable. He exhaled a shaky breath. "I thought I lost you." "You did," she whispered. "And I lost you too." A heavy silence passed between them. "Do you still love me?" he asked, his voice barely audible. Sienna's eyes glistened. "I never stopped." Leo closed his eyes, letting her words wash over him like warmth. And for the first time in years, he didn't feel the burn. Just peace. As he breathed his last, his final painting remained unfinished, her face, frozen in time, forever burning.